Jackson. Hey, this is Phil Lilley, Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on Lake Tinicomo. Going to do one cast, and we're going to do it in our newly remodeled pontoon that we've been working on all summer. Wanted to show it off a little bit. It's got a couple of little things to be done, but it's pretty much done, and we'll probably run it this weekend. As you can see, it's got 4 seats in the front with the trolling motor. It's all trimmed out in old barn wood that we harvested from a farm in southeast Kansas a couple of years ago. It's all done in a burgundy color with a burgundy top and cushions. And one cool thing we think is the live wells back here are all exposed with clear plexiglass. Have not had a fish in them yet. Maybe put one in it today. Got the live well buttons and lights and nice little carve out that the guys did on the CNC machine. And it's got a 70 horse 4-stroke Yamaha on it, brand new, 24 foot long. It's actually an old generation pontoon that we had bought in 1990, and it was our first pontoon. We just stripped it down and started over, and we're going to see if it catches fish. Okay, we're going to do one cast. Today is Thursday the 27th of August. They're not running any water. It's overcast, a slight breeze, a little chop on the water. I am just up from the River Point Estates boat ramp below Fall Creek. Not many boats on the water today, but I'm going to try throwing the same thing Ryan threw yesterday with a spin cast, 2-pound line. Well, actually I got 6X fluorocarbon tippet on here. Little Turner micro jig, brown, with a float, and I'm only fishing, I'm going to fish it just a tad deeper. It did slip down about 4 feet. Seen some fish rise out here. I like to fish around the leaves if I can. These seats are removable if you don't want a bunch of seats up here, especially if you're fishing like me today, just kind of fishing with a float, standing up and not sitting. That chop kind of comes and goes. It's supposed to be a little breezy today, so it should really improve. It's only supposed to be about 85 degrees, so I'm not sure if they're going to run as much water as they have been. On a micro jig, you want to just move that around a little bit. I got kind of small float on here, and what you can do if you got too small a float and you can't throw it very well is you can put a little split shot on the line and slide it right up against the bottom of the float. Get a little bit of weight. I really didn't throw it out very far from the boat. Sometimes it doesn't make any difference, sometimes it does. I generally don't leave the float in one place more than a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and I'm throwing it, reeling in and throwing back out in a different spot. No fish on the first cast. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and add that split shot. Brought my fly rods too. Let's see. My split shot doesn't want to, I don't want a very big one. And I'm going to pinch that on just, this might be too big. Might sink the float. Right up against the float. You don't want any space there to get it twisted. Let's see if this is gonna, oh, I cast it a whole lot easier. And it didn't sink my float, so that's good. I'm out there in the leaves now. But you don't want to throw too far because then you can't see your float clearly. And sometimes, kind of like he took it under. Like yesterday, they were kind of playing with it there at the end, just barely vibrating the float. Oop, I think one's down there looking at it because I saw my float move just a tiny, tiny bit. He just touched it, maybe with his tail. Want to move the float just a little bit to give the jig some action if there's no chop on the water. And if they're not interested, find another spot. I'm using straight 2-pound line on my reel. It's Trilene XL clear. There's a fish. I'm using one of our rods. No, it's a Lures Pro rod that we carry in the office. So I think it's a 6.6. Yeah, 6.6 medium line. But if you have 4-pound on your reel, or even 6-pound, you can tie a little piece of well, like 3 feet of two-pound line or 6X tippet to the end of your line, and that'd be fine, just as long as you can cast your float and your rig. Well, so far they're just taking that float right under. This Turner micro jig, we still have a fair amount of jigs left, but once they are gone, they're gone. They don't make Turner micro jigs anymore. They were made in Springfield, Missouri for a long time until Turner Jones passed away, and his granddaughter made the jigs for a while, and our understanding is she's not making them anymore. So they're pretty popular. They're a little pricey, but it's just the way they're made. It's a little bit different than most jigs. They have a very, very small profile. And they work. The only problem is the hooks on them are pretty thin. They're kind of a wire hook, and they bend real easy. So when you take that hook out of their fish's mouth, sometimes that hook gets bent up. what I do is just bend it back and it's fine, but after a while the hook gets pretty weak. That's the only complaint. Pretty durable jigs. They come in two sizes, what they call a half micro and a full micro. The half micro is pretty small. Morning. Yeah, I know. I know, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah? Thanks. I'm going to throw my fly rod with a Zebra Midge here in a minute. I kind of wanted to do both. I know people like to spin fish and fly fish both, so. One other thing you really have to watch when you're both fly casting and spin casting is, and using a float like this is, ooh, that was a nice trout that midged out there, is you really have to watch your slack. And by moving the float, that really helps kind of keep track of the slack in your line. If you get too much slack, you go to set the hook and all you're pulling is line and you're not getting to the fish, and you'll miss your fish. Tell you what, I'm gonna go just a little bit deeper because it seems like if I can slide this. Slide this without breaking it. We'll go to the top. Okay. So I'm going to go about 5 foot deep now, just to see if it makes a difference in the bite. People are moving around a little bit. That probably means fishing is a little slow this morning. I took out a couple of people last evening and fished till dark, and we were drifting scuds again up in the trophy area. And I did take an oxygen reading. It was down to 4.7, which is still not horrible. It's not bad, but the fish were not biting very well at all. They were missing a lot of bites. The fish were just really hitting short. Even when drifting those scuds, they just weren't being very aggressive, and they were having a real hard time hooking fish. And I have not taken an oxygen level today. With no sunlight, no wind, there's nothing really being, or shouldn't say nothing, but there's less oxygen being added to the water. Sunlight adds oxygen, so does wind. And I don't mean to put a lot of emphasis on the dissolved oxygen content in the water, but sometimes it does affect the bite. But so does just normal fishing in the mood of the fish, and if they're being aggressive, if they're feeding at the time. And that goes for all fish and all fishing. This is my last try on the micro jig. Steve Dickey's fishing above me, and they're fishing night crawlers, and I've seen them pull in several, so night crawlers is still pretty good. I've not asked him if he's using, oh, see? What was it? He took that float under and I didn't get him. The other thing to keep in mind is when you're fishing a jig and float, you really need a little longer rod. It's rather difficult to set the hook on a fish using a jig and float with like a 5-foot rod. It's hard. Okay. Thank you. I like a 7-foot rod, 6'6", 7-foot rod when you're jig and float fishing. The 6 is okay, but you get any shorter than that, you go to set the hook and it's, you know, you don't have a lot of, okay, hit it again. You just touched it. Now they're just pecking at it. Some of the guys use even 8-foot rods. A lot of them use that Wally Marshall, especially it's popular with the guys that fish the pink worm, which that's the same concept, fishing a pink worm under a float versus fishing a jig under a float. It's the same thing, and you need that extra long rod to, especially if you're fishing like, you know, 8 or 9, 10-foot deep. The deeper you are, the more rod you need to set that hook, because you got a lot more line out there. It goes down to the jig. All right, so it's Zebra Midge time. Okay. Yeah, I was fishing about 7 foot deep there. I didn't realize that. Okay. 18 minutes, Jack. Okay. Oh, I lost my toothpick. There it is. Okay, I'm gonna fish kind of shallow. Although, yeah, we'll see. Let's see. 3 feet? We'll go 3 feet. I'm fishing the same zebra I fished yesterday. It's a red 16. Uh, 6X fluorocarbon tippet. One, two just came up in front of me, so I'm going to cast at them. Throw in between them. That is one of the fun things about using a fly rod and a Zebra Midge with the fish coming up and feeding on the top, is you can target those fish. See one come up, you can throw at it with a fly rod. Oh, I see a nice one out there. Let's see if I can throw in front of him. He was just cruising around on the surface, close to the surface. I'm so far away, it's hard to see my float. Ooh, he was a nice rainbow. He was probably 16, 17 inches. Now, I'm not going to leave this in one spot as long as the jig. There's one. Probably 20-30 seconds is about the most. This might be that fish. It's a pretty good rainbow. Fighting good. Yeah, he's pretty. Gonna need the net on this one. Okay, let's see. What is that? Okay, hook's out. Wish there was some way to get my hands wet. That's pretty good. Just do it on the net. Nice little rainbow. Probably not the one I saw. That one was only about 13 inches. Put it out there in those leaves. See if anything happens. If I see one get up within casting distance, I can get on him pretty quick. You want to hit a different spot every time you cast. I think I saw a fish below my float. Ooh, I think I saw the float move. Sometimes it just barely twitches. I'm fishing almost too far away to see that vibration. But if I think I see it, I'll set the hook. Let's see. Try to move the boat around a little bit. It is really quiet on the lake today. Not many boats. Oh, that was a fish. I went to mend and moved my float, and the float went under, so. Now if it gets like brighter, get less cloud cover, I'd use the same fly, but I would move it deeper. Fish 5, 6, 7 foot deep. And like right now, I'm not getting many bites. I probably need to go a little deeper just to try something different. Of course, I'd change flies, change colors, see if they'd hit a black or a brown or an olive. But I haven't seen many at all hit the surface yet. It's up right there. Get out there a little deeper water. Did not bring, well, I brought some jigs, but I'm not going to throw them. I'll call you right back. Okay, I'm going to try one more thing real quick. I'm going to try to go a little deeper. Right now I'm about 4 feet. I'm going to go to I'll go to about 7. When we fish, when we tie these zebra midge, we're tying them with tungsten beads, so they sink pretty good. It just doesn't seem like the fish are on the surface or close to the surface right now. Back out and fish. Okay. It's my last spot. Got head in. You can fish scuds in this area. There are a lot of scuds down at my place, so there's going to be a lot of scuds in this area. A beaded scud. I know that's what Bill Babler uses a lot, one of our guides. I debated whether to do one cast down by the resort, because it seemed like there were a lot of fish down there, just like we did yesterday. I thought I'd wanted to come up here and just try a different spot. I think I would have done better if I stayed down close to the resort. Just never know. It's my last try, my last cast. Takes it a while for that zebra midge to sink all the way down 7 feet, so I leave it there a little bit longer. And boat traffic sometimes helps. Get a little wave going. See if this wave sometimes it triggers a bite. Well, one fish on a jig and one fish on a zebra midge. It's not as good as I thought we'd do, but it's better than nothing. Thanks for watching. We'll try it again tomorrow.